Well, I spoke to the police, the Gold Commander yesterday morning, and to the head of the Environment Agency. I'm just obviously anxious that we don't do anything to impede the emergency effort, and I was reassured that that wouldn't be the case today. And I've been here overnight. I've spoken to some families and businesses who've been affected this morning, and it's obviously had a devastating impact on the local community, on the local community. And I think what we now need to do is the government needs to strain every sinew, as we now are, but people need to pull together, which they are in heroic fashion here in Somerset.
You say as we now are. Do you accept that the response was a bit lackadaisical, frankly, from government and agencies?
Do you know, I think everybody is having to respond to something which we've never encountered before. No one has encountered this kind of deluge at such a sort of sustained way over such a prolonged period of time. I was just speaking to the son of an elderly couple who've had to move out of their home. They've been living here since the early 1970s. They've never seen anything like this. So everybody's having to adapt to something which hasn't happened before on this scale, and we need to work together. That's the key thing. The military, the police, the emergency service, the farming community, everyday families, everybody needs to work together.
There is a bit of a blame game going on. Eric Pickles pointed his finger at the Environment Agency. Do you think the Environment Agency does have questions to answer?
Look, there'll be a time and a place when we can look back and decide who should have done what when and whose responsibility for what decision lay where. But I don't think now is the time to point the finger of blame.
I mean, you've got confidence in Chris Smith, for example.
Chris Smith and the Environment Agency have got a very difficult job to do. We can in the future look back and decide what went right, what went wrong. It's very clear, for instance, now that the calls here locally for the dredging of some of the local rivers, while it wouldn't have been a magic sort of one solution, clearly should have been done over the last few years. But I don't think, certainly the people I've met here overnight and this morning, I think what they're more interested in is not who's blaming whom, but how people are working together to make sure that their businesses are back to full strength, that their homes are kept safe and their farms are back to full operation.
But on that basis, I just heard you being told that even if it stops raining now, which apparently it's not going to, it's going to be like this for another 5 weeks at least.
Well, if you just look around us at the sheer depth of the water, this will take some time to drain away or be moved away. Now, we've put in a whole lot of new pumps, and new pumps are being installed during the course of this week. I hope in the coming period we will see the water level come down, but it depends on the weather and it depends on quite how much water we can shift with those new pumps that are being installed this week.
And it depends on finding money, which wasn't there before.
Well, look, we're putting more money forward. We're making sure that money is made available. We've changed the rules so that local councils who come forward to the government asking for money in these emergency circumstances get more of the money to cover more of the costs that they are having to face. So we're putting up money. We're working with the military. We're working with all the emergency services. We're putting out every single stop that we can in Whitehall through the Cobra meeting system to ensure that every bit of government works to deal with this problem.
Finally, as a Sheffield MP, what do you say to those in the north who are suggesting that because this is in the relatively plush south, politicians have jumped to rather more quickly than they do when there are problems in the north?
No, I don't accept that. I'm a constituency MP in Sheffield where a boy lost his life in some horrible flash floods in Sheffield just a few years ago, and we all reacted then as we are reacting now. Where there is distress, it doesn't matter whether it's north or south, it is still distress, and I think what people are having to face here is simply awful. It is right that we're all pulling together now to try and help people who've been affected by these terrible floods.